I'm Dave Mullins. I'm a podiatric surgeon and healthcare attorney in Northern California. I'm also the author of the book, How to Win Medicare Appeals, published by the American Bar Association. This podcast is based on that book, and this is episode number 9 of the podcast. Let's get started. What if your provider client has clinical photographs in the patient's chart, but did not authenticate them? Well, unless the patient is physically present at the administrative law judge hearing and can tell the ALJ that those photographs are of their body part and can tell the ALJ when the photographs were taken, the administrative law judge is not going to admit those photographs into evidence for that hearing and for that claim. Will an unauthenticated photograph still have an impact on the administrative law judge? Well, of course it will. And we're all peekers. The human response is always to look. Once that ALJ looks at that clinical photograph, she cannot unring that bell. What if you don't have a clinical photograph? Okay. Use a diagram or a photograph from a textbook or an article that accurately represents the patient's problem, along with the best 1 or 2 images from one of the patient's imaging studies, meaning from the patient's MRI study or from the patient's CT scan. And then use all of those visual aids both in your letter brief and at the time of the hearing. How are clinical photographs of the patient related to the very first books that your parents read to you as a child? Before you learned how to read, your parents used books that had big pictures and just a few words in order to hold your attention and enable you to understand that story. How are the first books you read as a child related to the ALJ hearing? You have a very limited period of time, usually less than 15 minutes, to present a potentially complex medical topic to the administrative law judge. You want to use photographs, diagrams, and a short story to get your message across to the judge. Just like the major corporations do in their short advertisements on television. How should you think about the version of the patient's story that you're going to tell the ALJ? You should be thinking of your letter brief as the long version of your movie. And you should be thinking about your ALJ hearing presentation as your movie trailer, with the absolute best parts of your case on full display. Use the ALJ hearing to reinforce what you've already written in the letter brief. Has the ALJ already decided how she's going to decided your case before she even walks into that remote administrative law judge hearing room? I think, based on the attorney advisor's memo, based on the ALJ's subsequent reading of your letter brief, and based on whatever materials are submitted by Medicare to the ALJ is 95+% of the time already decided as to how she's going to rule before the hearing takes place. Sun Tzu, the Chinese general who wrote the book, The Art of War, said this very well. All battles are won or lost before the battle takes place. That's absolutely true about the ALJ hearings. But assuming your case is a close call case, how do the MAC denial reasons affect the ALJ's questions during the hearing? The MAC denial reasons are the 600-pound gorilla sitting in your ALJ hearing room. You must neutralize the denial reasons in your letter brief. You must know where your case and where your claim is most vulnerable to the denial reasons. And you must be prepared to answer all of the foreseeable questions that the judge is going to ask you about the claim during the hearing. But what if you're dying to bring something up during the hearing other than a MAC denial reason? Please Don't do this. Do not bring up non-issues. You're going to distract the administrative law judge and you're going to waste your precious hearing time. You want to be focused on exactly the same thing the administrative law judge is focused on, and the administrative law judge is focused on the MAC denial reasons. That's it for today. I'll see you the next time.